So how'd you grow so fast without investment?
One of the commitments we made is don't hire anybody in the beginning. So we didn't hire our first employee for the first 5 years. Just me, MaryRuth, and her mom, Colleen. She's a beast. So we went from 500,000 to 2.5 to 5.5 to 10 to 20 to 80. So the 20 to 80 was COVID, to 130 to 160 to 260. And I think something around 3 to 4 will be this year.
By the way, that's fucking insane.
20 to 80 just in COVID.
In the COVID year, and we had to turn off all advertising. I remember we went from selling 100 bottles of zinc a day to 10,000 bottles a day.
I started taking zinc during COVID and I have not stopped.
And you never thought about taking zinc before. Like it wasn't in
I
people's...
never heard of zinc.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, Kathys, we have a very special Sunday night episode. The tequila is flowing, at least for me. So it's going to be a fun episode where we'll get into some news, but we have an incredible interview. So David Ghiyam is with us, joining us. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure many of you guys know the brand that he helped co-found. It's called MaryRuth Organics. It's all up in my house. I got the zinc. Our kids take the zinc every day, all kinds of vitamins. I'm pretty sure I've seen the hair one.
Yes.
I think the hair one's your big one, right?
We launched it about 4 months ago and it became our number one seller.
Yeah. I mean, I see it on Amazon. It's like you guys are pushing the shit out of the hair one.
We are pushing that one.
And then...
is the hair one, is that like a Nutrafol competitor?
Exactly it. I was taking Nutrafol for like a year. I choked on one of the pills once. I said, there's got to be a better solution to this. So I talked to MaryRuth, started looking at the clinicals. I mean, there's a whole story behind it. Took us a year. We came out with like the holy grail in a liquid format.
Okay. I like crushing stuff. I like the liquid format.
Right?
Yeah, because Nutrafol, I have it at our house. It's 8 pills.
It's four pills, and people have pill fatigue like crazy. And you're taking so many pills.
Yeah.
The other day, my wife, I drink a decent amount. So she got me a thing where, it's like a really cool packaging, like some D2C brand that has like, when you drink, take 2 of these. So whatever, I took 2 of them. It's the biggest fucking thing I've ever taken.
It's a capsule?
It was like, I don't know what it was. It was like a dinosaur tablet. Yep. And I had to take 2. And then by like 5 minutes in, I just spit it all out. She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is disgusting. I can't take this.
Yep. Yeah,
I'll take the liver disease.
So what's interesting, the hair growth product that we have is actually probably the best hangover remedy. Millions of people take it. I take it as before I drink with an electrolyte, with activated charcoal, which we also have. No hangover the next day.
Really?
Yes.
So you get great hair and you don't...
Great hair. And we ran clinicals for skin and wrinkles. So if you care about that, and it burns fat. So
wow,
we test it. So
I gotta go to Amazon.
That's what
Ozempic meets Propecia in one. This is unbelievable. So it's such a huge brand, and I've seen it grow over the last couple of years, mainly because of my business at Ghost. We track the brand very closely. It's huge. It's big, especially on Amazon. It's massive. How did you guys start a supplement business? Are you guys like health people?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I was kind of born and raised thinking I was going to go into the business world. I ended up going to the nonprofit world, teaching spirituality around the world, took a vow of poverty, didn't make any money. And then we started the brand, I think when I was 10 years ago, when I was 30 years old. We're both 30. And she was in health and wellness background. I was kind of in the spiritual world. And we just came together and said, let's create a wellness brand. And it started off as a coaching business. And she was meeting people all day, kind of that fatigued because...
Coaching meaning like a professional coach or mental coach? Or?
She would help people achieve their ideal... MaryRuth would help people achieve their ideal body weight, skin, health issue, whatever you had. Sure. She's a magician at this. She's very good at this. She had like hundreds of clients right away. She got booked solid. And then we realized you can't have a life this way. She's like, I want to create a product that is a liquid vitamin. Nobody was doing liquids 10 years ago. And it was the Wild West of Amazon. It was like 2014.
Yeah.
So like there's like one liquid brand and it wasn't that good and nobody was really into it. So we created a liquid multivitamin, which is our flagship product. And then we created a nighttime version of it. So people would take the morning and the night. There was this complete set and it just took off from there.
And did you guys launch it on Amazon or?
Yeah. So we had no cash. I think we had like a couple $100 and we had a bunch of debt from other stuff. So I remember manufacturing just 20 bottles. That's all I could afford. Posted on Amazon. It sold out in like a couple of days. 50 bottles sold out, so on and so forth. And I think in the first year we did like around $500,000.
Holy
And your
shit.
competitive edge was liquid versus capsule.
Correct. 85% of the market was capsule at the time and still kind of is. Gummies hadn't really taken off yet and wasn't coming in. So everybody started to focus on gummies. We looked at the future and said, let's double down on liquids. That will be the next trend, we thought. And we were right. And we went all in on gummies too. So about 70% of our business is liquid, 25% is gummies.
Wow. And what's crazy is like supplements is one of those markets I've always looked at where there's massive companies, but it's like ultra competitive.
Correct.
Was it ultra competitive 10 years ago?
So back then, everybody was launching a supplement brand, especially on Amazon, and everybody was trying to get to market quick. So they were just doing capsules. So that was to our advantage. The Nestle's of the world, they take about 18 months to come out with
Their version
of anything, which is also to our advantage. Also, what I love is when founders sell their businesses to the Nestle's or the Proctors or the Unilevers of the world.
Shit's the bed.
Exactly. Everybody leaves, everything just gets kind of denigrated and that's a huge advantage for us. So there were a lot of big supplement sellers back there. I remember Zao or NatureWise and everybody was doing the free bottle program. So sales were going nuts.
Yeah.
We said, well, how do we differentiate ourselves? Liquid was one, but the other one was like the quality and the testing. So we test our products for like 200 toxins and chemicals and plastics and all the stuff that your wife would be scared of to give to your children.
Yeah.
So we kept doubling down on the quality of it and the testing. So that kind of kept us more as a brand while other people just were creating Amazon brands.
That's crazy. And
Just anecdotally about selling to the big companies, because I've heard this story that Drink By, BAI.
Yeah.
They sold to Snapple for
billions.
$1 to $2 billion. I heard they've written off to zero.
Yeah, of course, because you lost the founder. I don't understand why these CPG companies
They don't keep the founders
because they don't
there.
want to pay. Okay, you gave them $1 billion, incentivize them another $1 billion to figure out the next 10 years of.
Correct. The problem is the bureaucracy comes in, the legal comes in.
Yeah.
You can't run aggressive ads anymore. The only company that I know of that bought another company and kept the entire team there for 5 years, and as a result, the company grew by like 400%. Kraft bought what's that brand called? Not Vital. It's like a
Vital Protein.
Vita Coco?
no. They sell like dressing, and it's kind of
Vital Farms.
no. I see it. Primal Kitchen.
Primal Kitchen. Yeah,
Primal
yeah.
Kitchen. So I met the founder, and she's like, "Look, Kraft came in. They gave us a great offer, and I have." Every single person who was with us 4 years ago is still with us today. They didn't fire one person and let go of one person, and she has full autonomy. They stay out of her business.
But they incentivized her.
They incentivized her for sure.
What do
That
you-
was a smart play. That's the way to do it.
I'm curious because obviously you're in CPG. How does it work in tech? Because Zuck buys everyone, gets rid of the WhatsApp founder, got rid of Instagram founder, and they're all crushing.
Because you know what it is? It's like,
Same with Microsoft.
I know, but in tech, there's like no emotion. These
That's
are
right.
dorks just building technical
Stuff
product.
behind the scenes we don't see or taste or feel.
Yeah, but like think about all these CPG brands. They have such emotion of why they were started.
And a history of it, right?
History and like the people
that makes
connect.
sense.
And then they start just, as soon as you are part of Unilever, you start stripping cost. Next thing you know, it's not the same
Yeah, I
product.
guess if Instagram, the algorithm is better, whether Kevin's system's there or not, doesn't matter.
That's 100% true. And by the way, if we sold to Unilever today, we'd probably overnight lose 10% of our customers just by virtue of being owned by what is perceived as big pharma.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I mean, the other thing is that if I change one ingredient or one taste profile, again, customers, there's an uproar.
So how'd you grow so fast without investment?
So we were.
What was there's like a
Growth hack.
ARAP hustle?
Yeah. So it's a good question because one of the commitments we made is don't hire anybody in the beginning. So we didn't hire our first employee for the first 5 years.
It was just you and MaryRuth.
Just me, MaryRuth, and her mom, Colleen. She's a beast. So we went from 500,000 to 2.5 to 5.5 to 10 to 20 to 80. So the 20 to 80 was COVID, to 130 to 160 to 260. And I think something around three to four will be this year. But even
By the way, that's fucking insane.
So you said 20 to 80 just in COVID.
In the COVID year, and we had to turn off all advertising. Had I had inventory,
So you're
Every,
shitting
every
cash.
story from COVID
that
was-
year, yes, that year, yes.
every year from COVID was everyone's drinking, doing drugs, and eating pizza.
Oh my God!
And then they're buying goods.
Once I saw COVID happening, I called my manufacturer. I said, "I'm giving you the authority to buy all the elderberry on the market." They're like, "That's a lot of elderberry." I said, "Just quarantine all of it. We'll figure it out
I
later."
know, but think about it. Everyone was so paranoid. I mean, everyone was
I guess they did
Oh,
both.
yeah. Zinc. I remember we went from selling 100 bottles of zinc a day to 10,000 bottles a day.
I started taking zinc during COVID and I have not stopped.
Right. And you never thought about taking zinc before. Like it wasn't in
I
people's.
never heard of zinc. Never heard of zinc. I didn't know what the fuck zinc
Rogan
was.
pushes
Exactly.
zinc.
What?
Exactly.
Rogan talks about zinc all the time.
I take zinc every day now.
Yeah.
MaryRuth?
Yep. So that
So
was
most of your growth is in the last 4 years.
it's funny because everyone said, "Oh, once you get over 50, everything slows down. Once you get over 100, everything slows down." My mentality is, and I talk to the executives about this all the time, like I just always feel like there's an existential threat to our competitors taking over, and we need to constantly be innovating. So I think innovation for us is the biggest growth unlock.
Yeah.
Like the hair product, this year will be like $100 million product just by itself.
Jeez.
And we have to find constantly what are the new ways of innovating. And then we innovate with our partners. So we fly down to Whole Foods, our entire team with their team and the CEO.
Is that your big wholesale business?
So we started retail 2 years ago. We said no to retailers for the last 5 years. And we finally said yes to one, which was Whole Foods. And we said, we're going to go all in with you. They took 100 of our products and we have a relationship where we fly down.
100 products is insane.
Yeah. So, and that's it. Cause we just said, hey, what do your buyers need? We sit with all the buyers. They tell us what we need and we deliver it within 3 to 5 months.
Wow.
And so we become their beloved and vice versa.
Holy shit. And then are you doing any other wholesale in America or just?
Was the Whole Foods because Amazon owns it? So they were like, let's get you in retail?
Well, that would be the logical thing, but it just,
I don't think they talk.
they don't talk. That's also what we learned.
Yeah.
There is some synergy, but they're not really cooperating from what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Whole Foods, and then I think Vitamin Shop was second, and then like Walmart, Target, and then all the other ones are.
Who goes to a vitamin shop? I've seen
let me tell
those
you
people all the time.
Vitamin
I've never
Shop,
seen it.
Vitamin Shop is crushing.
Who is it? Just like meatheads?
They have 100 of our products. No,
What is it?
that's GNC. That's more GNC.
GNC. Got
That's
it.
more
GNC. Sorry.
Vitamin Shop. I talk to people all the time. Like, where'd you find our products? Like, I get it only from Vitamin Shop. 100 of our SKUs are in Vitamin Shop. They are killing it.
Who goes there? I don't understand that place.
I'm telling you. You know what it is? We got the award for like best vitamin company of the year, whatever. And I went to go get the award
At Vitamin Shop?
at Vitamin Shop's retreat, and in the room,
Where's the retreat? I'm curious. What city?
We went to Austin.
Okay.
Okay. So they flew all their
Top sellers.
top sellers or the educators in the store.
Oh, got it.
That's their big thing that they educate.
Okay, I get it.
There was over 1,000 of them in the room, and they were handing out awards, best sales, best. It was like
The cult.
people. It was exactly. People were going nuts.
It's
and I
like
saw what they
Herbalife
do.
2.0.
It was literally.
I know, but that energy, I think that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it probably has this niche audience that you're just like, I have to go to Vitamin Shop because like the product is available in a lot of other places, but there's so many vitamin shops.
Correct. Think about Whole Foods does a good job of it, but you go to Walmart, Target, there's no one in the aisles educating you on anything. There's thousands of vitamins. Like, what do I take? You go to Vitamin Shop, the guy there is educated. They order samples from us. They receive a lot of education. They get on Zooms, and that's why people go to Vitamin Shop. Wow. Whole Foods is the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, they're good at education.
Yep.
Is Air One relevant to you guys? Or no?
So we have a ton of products in Air One. Air One does very well, but it's a prestige play.
Yeah.
Right? It's not really a volume play.
Yeah. It's like being Bergdorf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about marketing? Talk to me about it, because I would say that like marketing over the last 10 years has evolved a lot. So I'm not going to say you were early Amazon, but that period of Amazon that you started, there was a chance to grow organically.
Yeah.
Where today, different people would have a different perspective on that. And then how did you think about it from at the scale you guys are at? When you think about marketing, what are you guys doing today?
So I have a couple different philosophies about it. I think I told my team, if we're not spending at least 20 to 25% of our revenue on marketing, we're going to die away. So, and the people
That's that nice gross margin life.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got to have that good gross margin. So beauty and vitamins, I agree.
Yeah.
But we also run a really tight ship around SG&A and payroll.
Yeah.
I tell anybody, you want to hire somebody, I need you to interview 2 international employees before 1 domestic. Because what we're learning is I can get somebody with like a PhD or a master's from the Philippines, from like the Harvard of the Philippines for, 20 grand a year. And you can get somebody who's, just coming out of college for 50, 60 grand at best. So we have about, I think it's close to 50% of our staff is international, which makes it very cost effective to reinvest in marketing. So that's one.
That's bad for America, huh?
What countries? Philippines, obviously.
Philippines is probably the biggest, but
is it like
what division?
customer service operations?
Yeah, so we have, I would say Philippines is about, we have 40 to 50 people and it's just customer service.
But could you get like scientists there?
So what?
So we got quality. We got like the head of quality from Nestle Philippines and he's working on our quality team.
Wow.
And what other countries that are meaningful?
I think a little bit Mexico, a little bit India, little bit Bangladesh or something. But the point is, once you start having a lot of people, then there's like a tax thing and a nexus thing, which it's kind of above my pay grade, but there's a lot more legalities. So we try to focus just on the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they speak fluent English.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Highly educated.
And I'll tell you something about the Amazon piece, because we were an Amazon brand. We were always obsessed with Amazon, right? As I'm sure you were, you're thinking about it all the time. What we noticed was the spend. We don't drive any traffic to Amazon, which is interesting. We drive only traffic to our website. Our revenue is split 65% Amazon, 25% our website, and probably 10% retail now. We only drive traffic to our website. But
on SEO, only your website shows up. Amazon doesn't.
It doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons we don't do that is because Amazon invests in marketing also. So they're trying to take traffic representing our brand to their store.
Yeah.
But we saw a 20% lift on Amazon sales by traffic that we drove straight to the website.
But some people just love shopping on Amazon.
That's the point. The point is they'll go to your website, like, I like this product. Then they'll go on Amazon, type in MaryRuth hair vitamin. Yeah. And you get credit for MaryRuth keyword and hair vitamin keyword. And then your rankings go through the roof because those are qualified buyers that the conversion rate
is instant.
Exactly. If I just drove traffic to Amazon, the conversion rate drops. The Amazon algorithm then penalizes you. So I never drive traffic to Amazon.
Marketing, you were saying 20-25%. What do you guys spend money on? Is it traditional advertising? Is it influencers?
We probably spend we probably spend a total about $200,000 a day. And I would say it's broken up to
$1.
Yeah. It's about probably 25% influencer.
Yeah.
I would say
$72 million a year.
Yeah, that'll be this year's budget. Yeah, that's crazy. I think about that. Yeah.
So, I told you I was an investment banker.
You guys are crunching the numbers in your head.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, it makes you nauseous. But it's 25% influencer, and I would say probably 50% meta. TikTok is big for us now too. So I would say 15-20% is now TikTok too. And we're going all in on TikTok shops too.
Yeah. And so
TikTok shop or TikTok influencer? Sorry.
Both.
And what influencers convert for your products?
We realized if somebody's buying our product and using it already and it's an authentic influencer, we will then reach out to them and start with an authentic partnership with them and really just engage with them. The high level ones are the ones that are just
huge, famous, whatever. No,
never works.
So it's like a mom that has like a niche audience.
Correct. Like a nurse with like 100,000 followers will do the best for us.
Got it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we have a great team. And here's the other thing. We don't work with agencies. I'm like very anti-agency. Some things maybe yes, but marketing, I think to be done right, you need to build and curate your own team. So we have a team of people who are creating the UGC content, editing it. We're trying to come out with like 1,000 iterations of ads a week, testing things constantly. And I feel like the only way to do it is in-house. Because an agency, if you own an agency, if you do well, your clients will leave you. And if you do poorly, your clients will leave you. It's a hard gig, I think, if you own an agency.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask you a question. If you were to launch a business today on Amazon, what would you launch?
Oh, I think about that all the time. So the way I would do it is I would talk to a lot of really smart people. Like I would go to lunch with you. I'd just pick your brain and I'd eventually try to find like the one thing that is solving a problem that is not sexy. I'm totally all about not doing things that are sexy. Build a brand around something that's not sexy. I just listened to one of your TikToks and you were talking about Home Depot buying the landscaping business. So not sexy.
Yeah.
18 billion. $18 billion.
Yeah, like
$18 billion acquisition.
I think HVAC and plumbing, that's where people should be looking at.
Imagine if there was like a branded dope plunger. Like Jake Paul could do a plunger.
See? That's
I'm going to
brilliant.
take the shit out of your toilet.
It's brilliant, except for the fact that you probably only buy one plunger every 20 years.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, but if it's like for example, like if you went to a 20-something-year-old guy's house, they're the people clogging up toilets the most. I remember Brian, who my roommate was for a long time. I don't know if we had a plunger.
You had a lot of people over.
A lot of people were shitting in our toilets.
You know what? By the way, get a sexy branded plunger with your name on it, like a gold tip or something, and it'd be elegant in the bathroom. Yeah,
But that's what, like, there's so many private equity companies that roam in those spaces. The non-sexy,
totally.
buy like four times EBITDA.
Yeah.
Fire everyone.
But they don't know how to build the brand that creates excitement.
I agree.
Right?
They just try to extract cash flow and move on.
I was at a mastermind. This guy comes and it's like, yeah, I do 50 million a year. I said, what do you sell? And he says, I sell insects. So he literally sells insects and grasshoppers, insects, bugs, like whatever you, people,
to who? To
there's
kids?
a market. People want bugs.
To
and
eat?
I don't know, but he sells spiders and tarantulas and God knows what. $50 million.
What's the use case?
I'm telling you.
Amphibians and snakes and different animals.
You gotta feed your animals.
You gotta feed them.
Ah,
so like
okay.
you
It's
gotta
a
feed them
massive
crickets and stuff
market.
like
So
that.
it's food.
Yeah, you saw how pet just blew up in the last couple of years. You saw like Zesty Paws of this crazy valuation. I think even behind dog and cat, there's a whole nother market that no one's talking about. Totally. So lizards and snakes and rabbits. And,
I mean, that's a great opportunity
incredible
for
fucking
a
idea.
group chat
someone is
listener.
listening to this right now and doing the market
If
research.
someone's going to come on this pod 3 years from now and be like, yeah, I just sold my lizard business
Just
for
don't bring
$600
the
million.
insects to the pod. That's all I ask. keep it at home.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible. And so you got to this scale. How come you haven't fully exited the business? Why are you doing podcasts? Why you're fucking rich? Just judging by I'm doing like back of the envelope math. You're rich. Why would you, the risk of putting yourself out there and just people hating?
Yeah.
Like what's your thought process behind that? Second, are you ever going to sell the business? Do you want to see an exit? Like what's your strategy there?
So we sold a minority stake to, you guys know, to Butterfly, and they've been incredible partners, but it was for a little liquidity for us, but I think it was even more so that
I saw the number.
Oh, you saw it. Well, yeah, it's public. It's out there. We don't have to say it here. But if you Google it, it's there. So, but what we really wanted to make sure is bringing on the right partner to help us scale. And our PE gets a bad rap, but our partners, Butterfly, with Dustin and the whole team, they have been insanely effective.
They're incredible human beings.
Incredible. Yeah. They're humble. They're hardworking. They add value and they stay out of our way. So it's everything you can imagine in a perfect partnership. And I think that was a big reason why we did it.
Liquidity is great though.
So, but
I was broke. we were doing over $100 million a year and I could not afford.
Can I tell you? So my last business, 5-4, we were doing at the peak, I don't know, $75 million, and I had no money.
You had no money, right?
No money.
That's what people don't get. You're broke.
Yes,
You're broke even at a 9-figure business.
Yeah.
I remember having like $40,000 in the bank, and I was like, something is wrong with this.
Much money in the bank.
And just for context for listeners, David, who I literally just met before the pod today, his investor randomly is a very close friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I
listen to the pod.
Yeah.
It's such a small world.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I love keeping my life simple. So I'll say no to like 99% of opportunities. I try not to like be on the board of this or run that business. I just feel like it just takes your bandwidth.
I agree.
I want to go all in on one thing. And the podcast stuff is, because I mentioned it, I've been teaching kind of spirituality for 20 years. I've been doing that before. I only started social media like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And
What about spirituality were you doing?
when I was 15 years old, somebody introduced me to Kabbalah, which is like universal spiritual wisdom. And then when I was 20, I'm like, this is powerful. I graduated UCLA, I was 19, and 20, I just went all in, and I traveled the world just teaching it.
Wow.
So I have a master class, and all of it goes to charity. So the stuff I usually talk about on podcasts is actually less business. More people know me from the spiritual side
stuff
than the business side.
So let me ask you a question. I'm gonna be honest. My exposure to Kabbalah was like in the 90s, Michael Jackson and Madonna.
Yes.
That was the first time I had heard that phrase. And that's when I looked it up or asked a friend. I'm like, what is this? There was no internet when I first heard about it. It was just like hearing about it. I think I asked my mom, and my mom's the one that told me what it was. And so how did you get into it?
So when I was 15 years old, I started to trade in the stock market. I remember making my first $1 billion when I was a teenager, and my life kind of spun out of control. My uncle's like, you need spirituality. So I went to a class, and it changed my life, and basically just teaches you the laws of life, like how to deal with energy, how to create miracles, mindset, just how to be a better person in every way. It's the spiritual laws of life. And once I saw how powerful it was and I could manifest with it, so I just went all in with it just to teach it. In 2000, all the celebrities started to learn it because, you know, they're human and they have problems too. And they started to learn Kabbalah and they saw miracles, and it just exploded in the early 2000s, kind of like around the time you were saying it. And then, you know, it's interesting. My following, because it's not religious in any way, it's very spiritual. My following is probably 30% Hindu, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And my biggest following is in India because they resonate with it so much.
Yeah.
I got atheists, Jews, Christians, Muslims all around the world. It's like a technology for the soul. So they listen to it and immediately their life changes.
What do you think about it that is connecting with the people? Is it because here's my belief. Our parents were very religious. Our mother now is still very religious. We are not. I mean, we observe all the holidays.
We do the cultural stuff, but we're not doing the deep down religious stuff.
You know, praying every day and not going to temple. Like, we probably were more religious as children than we are today. And generally speaking, I would say that there, especially in the bigger cities, religion is not a focus anymore.
Correct.
Right?
I guess everyone's running away from religion.
Yes. I personally think that's a negative. I think when I think about, and my exposure to religion as a child outside of Hinduism was Judaism and Christianity. Those are my two exposures.
Yep.
And I was also always, even in how we grew up, like we went to temple, we hung out with the kids. It was so fun. It was so nice.
We play football in the parking lot while the families are
in temple. We were playing football. And then I remember going to church with my friends and how that was so important to them. I can't tell you how many bar mitzvahs I went to as a child. And I remember how important that was for that group of people. And I actually believe religion is very important for community.
Yep.
And I think if you look at society today, I would argue that a lot of people are lost and they're looking for community. Yeah. And that's why they join things that are very oddball in today's society, that like counterculture, whatever it is. But I do believe there's an opportunity to create something or continue something where spirituality and things will bring people together. Like we were talking about my run club earlier. Not a religion by any nature, but it's a community. It's like a club. It's
That's
like
what people are looking for.
Yeah, and I think
the data is sub 30 religions at all time low.
Yeah, I think that if you think about sub 30, like that, there's a lot of problems there. Yeah, and I think community is lost. And do you think there's an opportunity to turn that around?
Okay, so number one, you totally nailed it. Everyone's looking for a purpose. And if you don't give them a positive purpose, they'll eventually align themselves with a negative one, or one that's not beneficial to themselves or mankind. So purpose is number one. What religion does well, to some extent, is it keeps the family unit together, and it does introduce you to a community, which is so essential. What I'm noticing when people come to my classes, because I teach seminars here in LA a couple of times a week, and the demo is people who are looking for a deep soul connection and meaning. And they've done the Joe Dispenza, they've done Tony Robbins, they've done, all these different modalities. They're absorbing a lot of content, but they're still missing community, and they need something to put it all together. So Kabbalah is like the original spiritual wisdom of Abraham, which then fostered all the other major religions. So when people learn Kabbalah, they're learning how to connect deeper to their religion, and the religion finally has meaning. So what's happening is, if they're Buddhist, they're becoming better Buddhist. If they're Christian, they're becoming better Christian. If they're Jewish, they're becoming better Christian, Jew. I taught a seminar in one of the largest Catholic churches in New York, and this 80-year-old woman comes up to me at the end. She's like, I'm Catholic for 80 years, and today I finally understand what the creator is after what you said, because the creator is universal energy. And she never saw it as energy, and she is a soul here to connect to this energy. Huh. So I've seen this kind of like all over, but you're 100% right. I think people are looking for purpose and community. Religion has let people down. But if you bring the spirituality to it, then I think it works.
Why do you think religion has let people down?
Because what's happening is, and this is how I grew up. I grew up in a way where religion was telling me just what to do.
What religion were you growing up?
I grew up Jewish, and I was so against it. Like, I literally made fun of the rabbis, and I said, I don't want to deal with any of this. It's very dogmatic.
Yeah.
If you just tell me,
but I feel like that's like a lot of kids. We were, growing up Hindus, like, Sunday school, this.
If you tell us what to do without telling us why we're doing it, we will rebel. And that's what was happening. Religion was telling me what to do, and they weren't telling me why. They weren't telling me how this actually benefits my soul. It felt like I need to obey for the sake of obeying. And no one really wants to follow that anymore.
That's interesting.
I also think religion has turned people off because, not to say by any means it's the majority, but there's certainly like a for-profit scheme in several churches, temples, mosques. And I think when you peel the layer back, you start saying, like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah. But
what's the dude from Texas? He's a total scam artist.
Billy Graham or whatever?
Joel Osteen.
I was watching him today. He's actually a very good speaker.
Obviously,
he's made so much money.
He must be incredible.
He is an incredible speaker.
So, yeah, but I don't... I don't believe that's the reason why people are turned off by it. I think they're more turned off because they're not getting explained. I like the
articulation when David just said, I think, is really, you like just being told, like, do these 10 things and that's what our religion does.
What I don't like about religion is when I meet in my business, I'm around very religious people, all types of religion.
Correct.
And when I ask them why they practice, they don't give me a good answer. It's just what they do.
Right. It's their born
dad
into
did it. Their grandfather did it. Their grandmother did it. They just do it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you gave me an explanation of why you're kosher, halal, whatever you are and what you do, I think I would have a deeper appreciation of why they do it.
Correct.
But I think they just do it because their parents did it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that, to me, eventually people are like, why am I doing this?
Correct.
Like, I don't even know why I do this. Like, I go to church on Sundays. I go to church every Sunday, but for what?
It's interesting. Like, for example, and by no means do I think, kosher is something anybody needs to do, but I was so against kosher. And then I asked, like, what is this kosher? Like, why even that, for example? And then the explanation was, and by the way, you ask 99% of Orthodox Jews, they wouldn't necessarily have learned this explanation. For example, when the animal is killed, if it's killed in a way that the animal undergoes pain, the pain and the trauma causes the soul of the animal to be trapped. So whatever negativity that soul had reincarnated in the animal stays stuck into the meat. So when you're eating the meat, you're kind of absorbing the soul's negative process as well. So what kosher does is it kills the animal in a painless way, allows the soul to reincarnate. So there's like a pure energy, for example, right?
Yeah.
So when I learned that, I said, okay, so it's more about energy. It's not about do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then everything gets broken down into its components of energy, light, and vessel, and how the soul receives the energy it needs.
So I'm at 3 nights a week a kosher restaurant. That's my life, right? So I no one's given me that answer. Let me tell you.
Yeah, because I mean, just to be like clear, like,
it's like, so. By the way, it doesn't mean you're a bad person if you don't do it. There's energy involved, right?
Here's a really interesting dilemma, and so I work with a lot of Orthodox Jewish people.
Sure.
So when I'm in New York City, it's really tough to go to dinner.
You mean with them?
Yeah, that's basically every dinner. So I'm vegetarian, and I, frankly, if it was all vegan, I'm very comfortable eating vegan every meal.
Yep.
So there's a restaurant in New York City. It's spelled J-A-J, ha ha ha. It's vegan Mexican. I fucking love it.
Great.
Okay, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite restaurants in New York City. A lot of the kosher people I eat with, we have this conversation around like, where do we go to eat all the time? So I know all the spots in New York that everyone goes to. I was like, here's a vegan restaurant. This is maybe first 2 years ago. And they're like, no, we're not going to eat there, but we'll join you. So we can go eat. I have a food blog that a rabbi does that tells you what the new kosher restaurants are in town.
Yeah.
And I see Ja is now kosher.
So now they're willing to eat it.
So I was like, hey, let's go. Let's enjoy the meal there. And one of them is a little more progressive than the other. It's like two guys I work with, very close friends. And one of them was like eating, enjoying. And the other one was like, it was like almost impossible to eat a chip. And I was like, there's no meat in here. Zero meat. It is kosher per this particular rabbi.
Right.
But like in his mind, he doesn't feel comfortable, which I respect. Like I told him, don't eat, like it's all fucking good. Like we'll go wherever we want later. But it's a fascinating thing. It's just like the part of religion that I think people are upset about is like you do certain things with very little explanation of why you do it.
Correct.
And if I look at like what's happening in the Middle East, I think a lot of that's because of that. They're just like, you're this, I can't have to be against you.
Yep.
I don't even know why I'm against you, but you believe in this, so fuck you.
Yep.
And that's the part of religion, I think the modern young person who's a lot smarter than people 20, 30 years ago is like, what?
And
what are you
more
doing?
access to information, because before you only heard one side of the story, now you hear multiple sides.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Thousands of years ago, there weren't religions. It was actually all spiritual wisdom. And here's the main point. We came to this world to transform ourselves to become like the creator, right? So a force of sharing, a force of caring, a force of certainty. So all the negative traits that we have, we're actually meant to transform them. All of these other things like kosher and the way they dress and the head coverings and all of that stuff are just energetic tools to help you change your consciousness to become a sharing force. What happened over time is people let go of the transformational part because that part's hard, but they held on to the traditions and the do this and don't do that. So now it looks like as long as I eat kosher or I wear a yarmulke or I wear this garb or I do that, I'm with God.
Yeah.
I'm good. But
the practicing is not.
All of the traditional stuff stayed while the spirituality was faded away because it's actually very hard to transform your negativity. Yeah. Because here's the thing, the number one thing that causes people chaos in their lives is evil speech, for example. So for example, we have to be so careful with our words. If my words cause someone else pain, or my words cause someone else to lose their business, or my words cause someone else to not date this person because I don't like them, every word I say creates a negative entity that then comes back and, gets into my business and causes problems in my life. That's the kind of transformation we need to be making. Whether I eat kosher or not, that's not changing necessarily my soul. It might help energetically get me to a place where I'll speak less evil speech, but the goal is to transform my nature. The goal is not to follow these traditions as the be all end all.
But I think that's what religion has become. Follow these traditions, shut the fuck up. That to me is like if I was a pastor or a rabbi or running a mosque, that's what they're preaching.
But the natural evolution is also countries that have had economic progress have had a clear opposite attraction to religion. If you look at the poorer countries, they're extremely religious.
Yeah.
You mean the government is like a religious state?
Almost. Like, I mean, if you go
There's
to
no religion in China.
Yeah, that's intentional.
Yeah.
But if you go to
never heard of Jesus Christ in China.
But most third world countries are extremely religious. Just go to India, Pakistan, Iran, Nigeria.
Yeah.
They're all extremely religious.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a way to control the population.
Yeah.
You feed them this dialogue and you keep them in line.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Middle East is the best example of that.
Yeah.
And people feel it. Like our generation and younger, energetically, they feel something's wrong with it. And so they rebel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Do you think it's an accident that the United States youth population is less religious than the population in India or Pakistan? Or
what do you mean by accident?
Meaning like, it's just kids are just like, fuck it. Why am I listening to this? But if you're in a village in India and religion,
you just blindly follow the tradition.
No, religion gives you hope.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're still struggling for
Gary Vee gives you hope.
3 meals a day. You're still struggling for 3 meals a day in a village in India. 3 meals a day. I'm using India because I'm allowed to talk about India.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about other countries.
Yeah. You don't want to get canceled. You're a pussy.
You still are looking for 3 meals a day, proper plumbing, water that's clean, shelter.
But you can find a samosa whenever you want.
No, but you can read, a religious like script and be
Gives you
like,
hope.
give me hope.
That's right.
Tomorrow I'm going to be able to find food.
Well, I think, too, what's fascinating about India and the poor, it's, ironically, when you walk around India and the poor, they're not as like angry and
No, they're not
hopeless.
angry at all.
It's like, I'd be like, look at your life. What are you?
They're
Why are you
also
not
extremely religious.
Yes. So we should push religion.
I think it works when you can't, go to Soul House. Right? If you're going to Soul House, you're like, fuck religion.
Yeah. You can't hit that John and Vinny's brunch. You're just like, meh.
I think the generation right now, especially in the US, the younger generation, they're just asking the question, what's the point? What's the point of this? Even having children. Like, I noticed a lot of people in their 20s and early 30s, they're like, I don't want to have kids. They want to have a pet. They don't know why they should tear their body apart, go through that whole process, probably screw up their marriage or whatever. Like, why should I have kids? They want to know why. They want to understand why. They don't want to just follow the dogma.
The social norms. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think having a pet and not having a kid is the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. Kids, at least there's a reward. You put some effort in, you
might get canceled.
Why? By who? A dog? Fuck you, dog. Who Snoop Dogg's gonna cancel me? I like dude. You're walking around this animal for the rest of your life, picking up their shit. At some point, your child picks up their own shit.
Well, I think the point. I think it's definitely deeper than that. I think it's a little bit deeper than that. And I've talked to a lot of people like, I'm just not interested in having kids. I'm just not interested at all.
And that's a sub 30 thing.
I've seen it to be.
We know people in their 40s that don't want to have kids.
Not a lot. I think
I know many in their 40s.
I think I know a lot of people that are trying to have kids in the non-traditional way, whether it's surrogates or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
in our age group.
I think there.
I don't know. I mean, dude, every single one of my friends has kids.
I know, but I know people that I come across that basically were like, I like the life I live, and I'm not trying to change it.
That's what it is.
And they admittedly say, I'm a selfish person. I like traveling.
They like traveling,
doing it.
like spending money on themselves. They don't want to lose their body.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Dink. Double income, no kids.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
No, I would 100% guess sub
time I heard
35 or have very less interest in having kids than our age group.
Yeah. The other thing, you could also not have in LA, you could have kids when you're fucking 60.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a male,
Mm-hmm.
you could, as long as you have a kid under like 100, you're fine
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
LA.
It's also true.
So, you just have to find a woman to bear your child, but like, that's a different story. But like there's no age discrimination for men, women, there is. And I think that will always be a challenge. But like, I think kids is, it is changing your life.
But it is also like a Western economic successful group of countries that are having this belief. In a village in India, they're having 6 kids.
They're fucking.
So what's the most balanced? So let's say, because your demographic of your audience is what age would you say?
I would say 25 to 40.
25 to 40, probably working hard, entrepreneurial,
Yes,
right?
Yep.
very much.
So there is this mindset. Think about it. you just told them that even when you're going to make $100 million a year, it's still going to be broke.
Yeah.
And you're most likely going to want to delay having kids.
Yeah.
So what is the balance? Like, what's the value they can hear from us right now instead of just freaking out? Like you got to make money, find a partner. You got to have kids. What's the advice here?
I'll tell you, like, I run a business. It's doing really well. I have fun in life in general, but like,
you have fun. You do your podcast. You create content. You have 2 kids.
The quality time I spend with my children is the best time of my day, my week, my month, my year. That is really how I view it. It's like the moments I have with them outshine anything else I can do. For me, that's me preaching about having children.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, how, people who are optimizing for work or whatever it is, that quality time is so valuable to me and has had the most like profound impact on me as someone that up until I got married, lived a fantasy life. I just did whatever I wanted. I traveled, I partied, whatever. I was like a rapper, like a shitty rapper.
And here's a spiritual benefit, because think about it. When the thing that makes people the most unhappy is when they're consumers and not producers. So they're just thinking about themselves. So the traveling and the making money for myself and doing everything for myself eventually feels very empty. It has a good high and then it's very empty. Having a child is you literally becoming like God. Like you created something from nothing, and then taking care of the child, and I'm sure you can attest to this, made you to some degree an unselfish person.
Oh, 100%.
Which is so powerful because that becomes the vessel for miracles. When you're an unselfish person, you actually become happier with yourself and happier with the world. So it is difficult, but it's transforming who you are on the inside.
What's interesting is I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who had a child right before me. And I was like, oh, so give me some advice before I have this kid. He's like, I never realized how selfish I was till I had a child.
Exactly. Everyone says that.
It's fucking crazy.
When you asked about the message, because I've talked about with a lot of my friends that, in my fantasy football chat that goes all year round, every weekend, everyone's just complaining. We call it the grind, right? Because we all have young kids.
Yeah.
Everyone has kids sub like 5. And I know you have kids, right?
Yeah. 4 kids.
It's tough, right?
It
Having young kids is very tough.
Very difficult.
But it's an investment for when you're like 60, you have something to live for.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how many times can you, even if you've made a ton of money, how many times can you go to Saint-Tropez, Mykonos? Like it gets old.
Bottle
I don't
service.
know. I don't think it gets old. I could go fucking to Scorpio 700 more times.
No,
and not get
but
sick
you know
of
my
it.
point is, right? Like if you delay having kids and be selfish about spending on yourself, and you do that from 40 to 60, at 60 you're gonna have an empty life.
I think I heard Jordan Peterson say something about that once. Like it's all good until like after 40, 45, then you feel lonely because you don't have the people around you.
Yeah.
You don't have your kids. You don't have your grandkids. No one's taking it. There is a whole energy, and it's a very communal, loving, powerful energy. When you go home and you're with your family, it's so different than when you're single and you're just, hanging out with friends. It's a whole different energy altogether. And also Kabbalah says every child you bring to the world brings wealth to you because it expands your vessel and your capacity to receive. So a lot of times people think having children.
I don't know who wrote that because if they did that in private schools in LA, that is not. So here's another vessel for loss.
Here's another conversation I've had with a handful of like entrepreneurs that have extremely successful companies that are ages 30 to 35. Yeah. Like they're clearly going to be rich. And multiple of them are like on this borderline, like I want to ditch my girl.
You mean they're married or
no? They're not married.
Okay,
they have a girlfriend.
It's a Seinfeld episode where every doctor, right before whoever they're with, they dump them right before they finish residency.
And they're basically in this like conundrum. Like there's this like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that I'm so close to, and my life is going to transform. And I've told this to at least 3 or 4 people that belong in this category. I was like, you have this window in your life. And I've seen this with people my age that chose the other window. You either are going to have a family and, try to live the resemblance of a normal life, regardless of how successful you are, or you're going to be a total fuckboy and you're going to be 55 and still doing the same thing you were doing at 33.
I think you could have it all.
I think that's the answer.
Yeah, because like I think like I look at if I look at my life, I wish I had kids a little bit younger.
How old were you when you had your first kid?
36.
Oh, okay. So you wish you had them younger.
A few years younger, because now that I look at my like children and my interests aren't changing. Like we're about to get into news in a second. Like I wanted to be at Coachella this weekend. I want to be at Coachella next year. I want to be in the Coachella the year after that. I want to be at the Super Bowl. I want to be at the same shit I've always been at. But imagine I could take these little shits with me. That'd be fun.
You can't right now?
I think I think next year I could take he'll be 7. I think I could take him for an afternoon. Like 3 hours. I think he could last 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
It's dusty. Both of us have bad allergies.
You're thinking about taking your 7 Dominic to Coachella?
I would love to take him for a few
You're
hours
out
next
of your
year.
mind.
2 hours with a nanny.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course, with a nanny.
We were talking about Coachella, and I was saying that I want to go to Coachella, next year, the year after. I want to go to all these things, and at this point, like I was saying, like I wouldn't have minded having kids a little bit earlier, but then I also don't think it matters because I was looking at like who's at Coachella this year, and there's like the Real Housewives, whatever. She was like in her 60s pulling up. Heidi Klum is pulling up with her daughter.
Lauren Sanchez.
So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to Coachella. My kids are pulling up next year. Why not? Like, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking about this generation. Some people don't even want to have kids. And then we're going back and forth.
I will say, since
do you want to have kids or no?
Okay,
be honest.
Number one for the listener, I just want to say drama's here because
yes,
that was a little, okay. So I'm here. I jumped in. We're talking about kids. My honest answer is the answer I gave. I do want to have kids. I'm not in a rush, but I don't want to be a 60-year-old dad. But I will say that I was in an interesting position because all of my friends were a little bit older than me. And so everybody had kids like before it was my time to have kids. Yeah. And I will say, like, selfishly, it does, like, I see what it takes from my friend. It's different when you see it from your friends, like people that you relate to, and then you see, what it takes to be a good dad and raise kids. Like, it definitely feels like I feel like I'm really fortunate in this like selfish era in my life that I don't have to worry about any of that. Like, I feel very lucky.
Yeah, like if it wasn't raining, you would have been on the golf course all weekend while
he was golfing.
I squeezed in golf today, last minute.
How? Like, wasn't it soaked?
No,
the moment there was a window of no rain, I went and golfed, and I didn't have to check with anyone. I didn't have to tell anyone.
It's true.
And I'm just saying that, like, that's not going to stop me from having kids, but seeing all my friends have kids, I do feel very selfish and lucky.
So here's the
right
thing
now.
is, and I had this conversation with my wife when we first had kids. I was like, we both realized that it is a moment in time where your children are young and you're basically in prison. Okay. So like,
Dude, that sounds terrible to me. I don't want to go to prison.
But it's like,
explain that so people don't freak out.
Yeah. So it's like it's a fun prison. Like, for example, today,
like the Martha Stewart.
You're like, Martha Stewarting it. Yeah, exactly.
Like we're it's like a white collar prison. Like, right. My 6-year-old now can go anywhere. We could do anything with them. I can take him to a game. I could take him to a restaurant. We can go out. We could travel. We could do all that. But we also have a 3-year-old. 3-year-old is limited to where he can go. How much patience he has, it's just all the limitations of a 3-year-old. And anyone who has children can understand that. So right now, the 3-year-old can only do so much, and then we sit at home, and he gets frustrated, and he has so much on his mind, and he has crazy energy. Once the 3-year-old is the same capacity as a 6-year-old,
yeah,
we could do whatever the fuck we want then. We want to go to dinner. Like going out to dinner is pretty easy, but it's like when the 3-year-old's at the same capacity as the 6-year-old, it's gonna be really easy. Like
But you're not like learning how to golf. That's what I'm saying. Your example of being able to do whatever I want is that means
Yeah,
like
but-
you
but
can go to a restaurant.
So yeah, but here's the difference.
Very true.
So my 6-year-old now, he's into sports. He's into football, he's into baseball, basketball, all this stuff. So we now go to the park 4 or 5 days a week. Like after work, we're hitting the park and we're doing, I want to exercise. I don't have no time to exercise. My exercise is now pitching him the ball, running around, and my 3-year-old wants to do it. So like, I'm finally getting to a point where like we're combining lives again.
Right.
And you know, we're a unity.
Yeah, it's hard the first 5 years because you don't relate to them.
That's
as
what I
much.
said. I told my wife, I think it's like a 5 to 7 year play.
Yeah. And then
Which
they
is
start
nothing.
worshiping you. And then they start worshiping you.
Yeah.
And they're like your best friend.
Yeah.
And they hate you 6 years later.
It's a cycle.
And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be like, I know that there is a joy that you're experiencing that I don't know. I get that. But my exercise is exercise. It's whatever I want to do. It's not like, oh, well, I guess throwing the ball counts. You know, like
to Drama's credit, there's studies that show that women mature around the 32-year mark and men reach their peak maturity around 42. And I know men who waited until their 40s to have kids, and they're very happy they did it. And they're doing a phenomenal job, and they have less stress because they're already financially stable. So they're not trying to build a family and a business simultaneously.
I agree with that.
That's my path.
And I think the way Drama's
like
doing
that
it,
path.
actually, I've seen works out even better.
I agree. I think in big cities particularly, you see dads that are older, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm on the older side of having kids in the traditional sense, but I don't feel that at any of my kids' schools.
And this was after you were established financially.
We had ebbs and flows. We had a couple good years and we had a couple bad years too. COVID really fucking sucked the blood out of me.
Right.
I was.
I don't wanna,
Let's just say when I had kids, I was.
Yeah. I do like, I mean, on the work front too, I still feel very, and once again, also might not be a valid excuse, but I feel very like, I don't know, like I'm still trying to build and like just going for it and not in such a like routine stable. Like if I had like some sort of exit or something like that, I could see instantly.
Do you have a number, Drama? Like I know people who either have a cash flow number that they feel comfortable with or an exit number, money in the bank, before they can say, I can move to the next part of my life, start a family, whatnot. Do you have a number?
I never thought about that. I definitely shouldn't have done anything if I had.
I'll be honest with you.
At least have something to work towards. And
I'll be
energy.
honest. I it's not so much a number to me as it is like I understand I might sound kind of stupid here, but it's like a lifestyle, you know, like I'm still.
That was my decision.
Yeah, I understand.
Like after
my
this,
decision was all
after
lifestyle.
this, I'm going to open up my laptop. I'm going to plan for the week. I'm going to get all my.
Oh, I thought you were going to jerk off.
Well, after that, clear my head. Then I'm going to, you know, like, and I'd like to be able to do that as opposed to, I don't know. It's more of
Actually, am
Mine was very
actually
much
strongly opposed to that mentality.
Oh, the dollar mentality?
The dollar mentality. Because if you're in that mindset, there's never a right time. Because then once you have the money, you're like, oh, I want to party.
I've seen that too.
Yeah,
I've seen
that's
that
the
too.
problem. Mine was
So, like,
very
there's-
much.
It's just like, hey, if you have a partner that you think you guys can raise a family together, whether you have $100 in your bank account or $1 million or $10 million, it doesn't matter.
I think
Mine's
mine was
also
all
more-
about like
You go, D.
I felt in my mind I had done what I wanted to do as a non-family person. I was like, you know what? I had my fun. I got to experience things. I got to travel. I got to do all these things. Like I never thought I would do the things I did. So like I was like box checked.
You
Time to
knew
move on
it
to
was
the next-
right for your soul at the time.
Yeah, and for me, having children was that's all that was to me end goal.
Yeah.
And I felt like having kids would also, I don't like, I'm joking about it, but like, it's so fun. Like my 6-year-old had a birthday party. So my 3-year-old and I were out all day together. It was so fun. Like we had the best day. We're just like, went to some like pancake spot, and then we walked around, and then we took a nap together. It's like, your little homie. It's like, it's fun.
Right.
And one practical thing I would say is run your, it sounds bad when I say it, but actually it's very practical. You can run your house like the way you run your business.
Yeah.
And, if you have the ability to invest in support and help, you should do so.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it that it doesn't suck your energy.
Yeah.
It actually gives you back energy, and it makes you more productive and more successful. And you actually have more free time, ironically. There is a way to do it.
What's interesting is like when the peak of like my wife and I just like struggling to deal with our 2 kids, and we were talking about some of our friends who have like a lot of resources of help. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like, there's no way they have that much time either. And then she made the comment of, it's more about the quality of time than the quantity of time, which I did not appreciate till maybe a few years ago, where I was like, I would come home, I'd be physically present, but I was not present.
Right.
It's on my phone, not paying attention, which is horrible. I now walk home, phone gone. Even if it's 30 fucking minutes, that's all I have. That 30 minutes feels like a lifetime to my children.
You know what kids will remember is the time you spent with them when you didn't want to spend it with them.
Yeah.
Like I remember the time that my mom sat with me and played a game when she was physically ill and sick, but I wanted to play that game so badly. She went against her nature and she sat on the floor. And I think I was like 6 years old, and I remember it. Kids will remember when you go outside of your nature for them. Yeah. Right. They won't necessarily remember if it's part of your checklist.
Yeah. Wow. Right. That's crazy. That's deep.
Yeah, I think I'm on the 42. I'm on the 42 plan.
19
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson.
All right, can we talk about Coachella?
Okay,
what are the highlights?
So the highlights are Anand was saying, "Oh, no one's going to Coachella. It's dead." The fucking thing was sold out. It was.
I know.
It just took longer to sell out.
Yeah, that's all. It took longer. And
I was just saying. I was.
You're washed.
But did your social media look?
Yeah, my social media literally was absent. So 2 things: Instagram, 0 Coachella. Like I saw the Revolve stuff. Yeah, saw the Revolve stuff. TikTok, all Coachella.
Right.
It's your fucking.
But that was
old,
like,
dude.
Oh, here's Taylor Swift showed up, right? Like
it was Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Jaden, Billie Eilish, and Bieber and Haley.
I mean, those are the biggest stars in the world.
But maybe we're just washed. I'm okay accepting that we might be washed, and all of the people we follow are washed too.
So
on Instagram,
my gut tells me it was probably as fun as any Coachella has ever been. The one thing that I care for Coachella as like long-term believer in the brand, I want it to remain young, and I think. Right. In previous times, Coachella outpriced young people, became like a rich old person's thing, which I actually think is horrible for the brand.
Yeah.
I do think their lineup was hot trash.
Who's tonight? Is it Tyler? Or no?
No, it was Doja Cat.
Oh, God.
So I know people that saw No Doubt last night and said it was incredible. So I do think like we got to go back to the heritage of the thing. It's like a big rock act, maybe a house EDM act, a rap act, like whatever it is, whatever combination of that.
Yeah.
Coachella is such a well done music festival, and it allows everyone who doesn't have money to who has unlimited money to have like a pretty similar experience, which makes it very, very special. And then you have the parties and the celebrities. There's nothing like it. It'll never be redone. But I do think they need to reset and figure out how to do it.
I tip my hat to Leo. He was at Neon Carnival at the festival. Wild. How old is this guy?
Holy shit. He's not on 50. The Jackie Robinson plan, man.
Isn't he 50?
He's got to be,
on
right?
The Al Pacino.
Yeah, I mean, he's chilling.
He showed up at Neon Carnival. I saw this on TikTok in a party bus of like 30 people. him walking into Neon Carnival.
Let me tell
And
you,
what
the
does he
last
talk
kid
to these, like,
conversation
19-year-olds
does not
about?
pertain to Leo.
The what?
Like the last the last kid conversation does not pertain to Leo.
And the other thing that I thought was super interesting is TikTok broke down Taylor Swift and Kelsey's experience, because there's like a million different angles of how they were moving around the festival, and apparently Dom Dalla was one of the like artists they went to go see. Her security, she had 2 layers of security. She had the guys with the vests and the guns and, you know, everything. And then she had security of like fake party goers. So you couldn't even get,
you felt like, oh, there's other friends.
Yes.
She's
Just like
relatable.
other people see, oh, there's friends there.
Yeah.
That's like presidential shit.
I mean, she is. She should be protected at that level.
Yeah, I mean, she's a national treasure at this point. We can't let anything happen. By the way, I don't want anything to happen to Travis Kelce. I would love to see a Chiefs for Super Bowl again. Both of them.
I mean, those two, I mean, he was at, did he go to University of Cincinnati, I believe?
Yeah.
He just did the graduation, slammed the beer.
Friday night, he was at Sushi Park, and Daily Mail said, Taylor and Travis skip Coachella. Then Saturday they're at Coachella.
How do they have the energy for this? These two are in like Brazil 1 week.
I mean, they have no
kids.
That's the answer.
I used to be that person, and I didn't have a private jet, nothing. I would drive my ass down to Coachella, black out, and come back.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there a clip of Taylor at the Super Bowl and Travis said to her, like, I can't believe you're not jet lagged. And she said like jet lag is a construct or something. Like she said some like Kobe quote.
Wait till you guys have your first kid, Taylor and Travis.
Yeah. When Travis is like, I'm going to Coachella, and Taylor's like, bitch, you ain't going nowhere. That's my baby nurse, not yours. Sit your ass at home. Catch these balls here.
That's when it'll change. Oh, you're right. That's a good study on kids. What happens to them? I mean,
if they have children and this month, there's zero chance Travis is going to be allowed to be at Coachella.
Hell no.
So here was an interesting thing. So I've been going to Coachella for 15 years. This is my first year not going, even when my wife was pregnant. Week 1, we went to Hawaii to visit my dad. And we had a beautiful week, whatever. And then
you're like, I'm out.
Weekend 2, I think Anthony was like, I'm going to go for the night, whatever. And I was like, all right, let's go for the night. So I went. And so I've been going.
You're like Scotty Scheffler. The Scotty Scheffler just won the Masters, but his wife might go into labor at any moment. So the whole weekend he said, if my wife goes into labor, I'm leaving no matter what. He was in first place. And he's like, I'm still leaving.
I'm the opposite of that.
And you're the Scotty Scheffler of Coachella.
I want to labor and I'm playing the Masters.
I want to touch on the Masters real quick because I know we're not a golf podcast, but Akshay Bhatia made the cut.
Yep.
I think he finished like 36th or 35th.
Bhatia, right?
Bhatia.
Yeah, say it
Bhatia.
right. I mean,
yeah, you're going to say it right. It's Bhatia.
Come on.
Bhatia.
Bhatia is the right way to say it, just for listeners, but it's a joke from the last pod. Anyways, 2 Indians made the cut and finished in the top 60.
Singh? Was it Singh?
No, Sarit. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Sarit Tagala.
Doesn't even sound Indian.
Oh,
no, he's definitely Indian.
Sahith. Yeah.
He's considered one of those guys that's supposed to have a shot at being good.
He's good.
I mean, we have like 7 billion people. We have 2 good golfers. I mean, we suck at sports.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
agree.
At least, you're starting to break through.
We got 2.
Think of all the kids that just started this year because of Akshay. 1 billion.
You know, it's really interesting. So part of the 3-year-old in the afternoon, he was like, I want to watch something. And we were like very TV restrictive. Finally at 4 p.m.
See, I want to watch something.
That's literally how he talks. He's like, I want to watch something. And he kept wanting to watch Shrek. And I was like, no, I don't, because then I have to watch Shrek. I don't watch fucking Shrek. And so, I was like, point. So I go, do you want to watch baseball, basketball, or golf? And he goes, I want to watch golf.
Is it because his other side of grandparents love golf.
They watch golf, so he's watched some golf.
Yeah.
But he sat and watched the end of the Masters.
Wow, that's amazing.
Unbelievable. I was bored. Because that
that's
guy's
a
going
good
to win.
patience test. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this is horrible. Let's watch basketball.
Did you watch the end or no?
Yeah.
So did you watch? I was watching it on my phone, but just the conversation between Jim Nantz, the chairman, John Rahm, Scheffler, and like the amateur kid.
Yeah.
It was literally the most boring potential conversation. You can't have a more boring. I was watching. I was like, okay, you know when Kevin Garnett and the Celtics won, he was like, anything is possible,
Right.
and he was screaming and yelling.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were just like, I've just had a good day.
It's like they sit in a room and say like, okay, last year when the guy did the fist pump, too exciting. How do we tone it down?
I mean, the most viewed
notches?
thing of the weekend was when the guy ran on the first day, some random fan, and got kicked out.
No, there's a meme. This is the most watched thing. There was a meme of Tiger like doing something to the tree.
No, because there was that guy, Vern Lindquist.
And then he ran into the tree when he got into
Yeah, it's so bad. Golf is I've never seen something have so much like potential and like young people into it. And everything about it is as if you are trying everything you can to tank it.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It's horrible.
The broadcasting sucks. The people where's the Tony Romo? Like the Tony Romo of golf is like some dude. I don't even know who he is. He's 60 and like, oh, back when you played here, Jim, what was it like walking down the final?
Oh yeah, there was no black people here, Jim. That's who's that guy?
A lot.
That's literally what it was.
Yeah, it's like where's any excitement, any fun?
No,
and then that last scene was so awkward.
It was so awkward. I was just so disappointed because you could bring life. This dude's won 2 of the last 3 years.
Right.
Make it interesting.
Right. It's ridiculous.
All right. I want to talk about inflation because this last week, everyone was expecting inflation data to come in soft, which would allow the Federal Reserve to give interest rate cuts, which, David, I know we're all dying for.
Dying for that.
Dying for that.
I am too. What are you talking about?
Everyone's dying for interest rates cuts.
Right,
the entire podcast listener base is listening for interest rate cuts.
I'm trying to lower the cost of vitamins just to bring inflation down. I'm trying to do my part.
Yeah. At least you're doing your part. You know who's not doing their part?
Pay less wages. Do your part. The hot economy.
The biggest thing that I was shocked about inflation. So I think that the big data points that continue to drive inflation that I think people are shocked about. Auto insurance is up crazy over the last year.
But isn't that a lot of laws in states?
Yes.
Like California has some weird new law where you can't even get insured.
My insurance in California, we don't get tickets, we don't get accidents, nothing. It's fucking crazy.
Wait, why is that? Why auto insurance?
They changed the law in California. I'm sure we can,
so everything is stupid.
Yeah.
we can Google it or someone can DM us. There was definitely a law change in the last 2 years that caused to be insured in California. You were having a problem even getting insured.
Yes. My insurance
when you got your new car.
Yes, my insurance lapsed on my previous policy. What?
Do you have speeding tickets or something? Why would you have trouble getting insurance?
Basically, I had my insurance connected to a bank account that I closed. I closed the bank account. And
it sounds like checking in savings.
And yeah.
Right.
Basically. And then I get a notice saying, hey, we tried to pull the money. And then I was like, I just uploaded a credit card or whatever. And they're like, oh, it lapsed. You have to get your insurance is canceled. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean it's canceled? I was like, I can't have a canceled insurance. They're like, it's going to take 60 days to get you back on this policy. I'm like, do you want me to illegally drive for 60 days?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's illegal not to have insurance.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. There's no way all the migrants have fucking insurance. It's just not illegal anymore. And so then fast forward, I end up getting insurance from AAA and the guy's like, oh man, You're lucky you have a good driving record. That's the only way. We don't give anyone insurance. I was like, what? What the fuck is going on here?
I heard this about homeowners insurance. I didn't know that auto insurance.
Homeowners 10% increase over last year on homeowners insurance.
So there's basically inflation across the board, and Dee and I talked about it in the chat over the weekend. I don't think inflation's going anywhere.
But here's the problem. I'm going to give you a data point that's going to blow your mind. See, this is from 2004, since 2014. The government official inflation data shows that there's only 31% inflation in the economy from 2014. That's the government data. Okay? Do you understand that?
Why are you looking at me?
Because this is about your boy Sleepy. Prices at Popeyes, 86%. Taco Bell, 81%. Chipotle, 75%.
Since 2014, these prices have gone up?
And now in McDonald's have doubled 100% since 2014. Feeding a family for one meal at a fast food restaurant cost as much as $50 in many cases. And so
and then you got Arizona iced tea, which didn't change their prices. Yeah. They're at $1.20.
Right.
Like
so, but the
years.
other issue is since 2020, so this is both administrations, to be non-political, the dollar's devalued by 26%. So your purchasing power is 26% lower.
Okay, but that still doesn't add up to this math. There's still
That's
like a 50% delta.
But then wage increase from 2014 to 2024, I bet you'd get pretty close.
So why is the job market so hot? Why
the consumer can't stop spending?
But where are they getting the money from?
So my theory
it was supposed to dry up
none
by
of
now.
it makes sense. Yeah.
I've said this before on this podcast a million times, but obviously, David, you're here now. As long as unemployment's low, people will extend credit as much as possible because the data is very clear. Credit card debts are all-time high. Savings rates are all-time low. But if you think you're getting that next payroll check in 2 weeks, you're like, I don't care. I'll get another credit card.
They're just kicking the debt can.
Exactly. And then once unemployment starts to go up, then everything, all hell breaks loose.
That's when the music stops. Okay.
Yeah. That's my theory. I don't know. Everyone has a theory. That's my theory.
Yeah, I could believe that. And I think the problem is that on the inflation front, if you look at all the things, there are some regulatory things that can cause auto and health insurance to come down easily. Like if you think about like our government budget, there are some easy wins that would change the auto and health insurance, which are the two biggest culprits, right? And then you think about...
I think healthcare costs are like 25% of GDP.
Yeah, and so that's an easy win to figure out how to way to lower that. The cost of crude oil is going to about to shoot through the roof.
Yes.
Why?
Well, but you saw what happened this weekend.
Oh, because of that.
So like it was already creeping up because of the conflict in Russia and Ukraine, and then in Israel and the Middle East. And now over the weekend, we had Iran attempt to attack Israel. And, you know, that in itself is like, I've read so many like interesting perspectives on it. So one of the perspectives that I've read is Iran had to attack Israel to show face with their own constituency, saying that like, we attacked Israel, we did it. But they kind of did like, when you saw the drones and how long it took to attack.
Like an 8-hour window or something.
8 hours.
All right,
like,
we're sending them.
We just launched a drone.
No, they wanted it to get stopped.
They wanted to get stopped. So, and Israel got to show the win that they defeated 99% of the weapons. And so it's a really like, if this little act was done 25 years ago, it would be perceived so differently. In the internet age where everyone doubts everything, we're like, was Iran's attempt bullshit? Israel's defense expected? You should probably not both overreact and dead this thing and Hopefully both countries end safely. But is this all a charade?
So Ian Bremmer, who's one of the leading foreign policy thinkers in the world that I suggest everyone follow. It's very down the middle, not left, not right, just kind of tells it how it is. In the middle of Saturday, when all this was going on, you saw every possible belief. World War III is here. Everyone grab shelter. The world's over. And he tweeted, he's like, this platform is like on a 3x overreaction. It once this all shakes out, you guys will see. And he was completely right.
Right.
And when we don't have level-headed thinkers, it's so easy to get wrapped up in these like very irrational thinking of where the world's heading.
Right.
Because from my understanding, I don't think there was a single death from the 500 to 1,000 missiles.
No, the drones. I don't think.
No.
Drones. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So drones.
Well, they got the Iron Dome.
They had some
Iron Dome's
weird. Did you
hot.
see that like space
Yeah.
defense? That wild shit. They said there was like some
And
new
the U.S.,
technology.
I guarantee you the U.S., because it was the U.S., Jordan, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and UAE all helped to basically shoot down the drones. They were alerted by Iran.
Right.
It wasn't alerted. They took 8 hours to get there. Iran has
Yeah.
the shittiest drones of all time. Why does it take 8 hours to go anywhere?
But they wanted to send their shitty drones.
You're saying they just had to show a response to save
Yes.
face,
Yeah.
and the Biden administration can't afford any kind of instability right now because it's razor thin.
Yeah. You don't.
That's the question. Like my question is like, so we just covered a lot of shit, like from inflation, and then we jumped into war. Like, what's the
Is this what your podcasts are normally like? I haven't heard a full podcast.
No, this is.
I'm just consuming you on
Sometimes.
TikTok.
We just talked
You
random stuff.
literally talked about, you know,
Hey, we're gonna get to.
do you
we're about to get to Ohtani's gambling addiction.
David,
really
do you
soon.
understand-
Orthodox Jews, Amazon business, kosher, religion, inflation, Taylor Swift. I mean,
David, you don't understand. I'm
is
an
it.
Expert at all of it.
I was gonna say, like, where is the niche? But you guys are experts
no
in
niche.
everything.
This is what it's
we're gonna
like
get
if
to
you go to
some
dinner
more
with
fun
us,
stuff.
if we have drinks, or if we're on a podcast. It's all the same.
By the way, this
You
is
move
my.
on Taylor Swift.
By the way, this is the more filtered version of me.
Is this?
Yeah,
Yes.
this is very G-rated.
I can't be myself on this podcast anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
A couple
canceled.
tequilas, you get group chat
for
X-rated.
the oil price thing. So Brent Belote, who was on this podcast, he's an oil trader. So he was texting us that OPEC has so much capacity that he thinks they're going to start releasing oil to not make the price just shoot straight up.
And we know we talked about it last week.
But
U.S.
Putin
is
will win.
record production domestically is happening in America. It's like never had this much production. We have to, at the end of the day, all we all care about is we have to make sure we cut interest rates.
How much do you think it's going down?
So the problem is all the data.
Once you start firing people, let it. Well, all your employees are international.
International. I told you. Solves
That's
the problem.
So
There's a limited belief system about hiring international. It's a limited belief system.
So here's a problem is that like, if you look at the inflation data, I would argue you have to raise interest rates, not lower interest rates. And then everyone thought March was going to be the
That's a pretty
first cut.
controversial take. I know a few people came out and said that. I forget who.
Nobody's
was it?
saying to
Larry
raise it.
Summers.
Larry Summers said it,
Yeah.
right?
So, but it's true though. Like the fact that it goes up it went up 0.5%. It still went up. Why are things still going up?
I also think we have no concept of inflation because I don't think anyone's analyzing the data in a
I just
sophisticated way.
shared with you the fast food data. It's completely inaccurate. 31% is wrong. It's fake news.
Yeah,
Government data on anything is bullshit. CPI, inflation, all that shit.
When Accenture got the $100 million no bid contract to build a Shopify site for COVID vaccines, that's when
you realized it. I realized that like 25 years earlier.
I think the through line here, though, I'm going to get yelled at in the YouTube comments for this, but it really feels like the through line with everything we talked about post Taylor Swift is good for Trump.
Yeah.
Like, I think inflation being this much of a problem still, I think all of this war talk, I think it's just, I expected a lot more.
I actually did not believe,
like, leading up to the election. Like, I expected Biden to read the room on like the war talk or like try to, I don't know. It just, to me, this feels like a country in chaos. And I see a lot of tweets that are like, remember when there was no wars and the blah, blah, blah. I mean, look,
what is the sentiment in our country? I mean, I remember even in crime, from crime point of view here in LA, we were all crazy about it. And lately I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about.
I think everyone just got used to it.
I have a tweet that I put up
on homicides,
which is obviously the most, you know,
you
horrific.
don't die, you just get stabbed now. That's the difference.
So in all 10 cities with the most 2023 homicides for which we have data, homicides are falling. The pandemic crime wave is crashing hard. If these percentage decline numbers were percentage growth numbers, it would lead every cable news show. So Boston down 82%, Columbus, Ohio, shout out to the OH, down 58%, San Antonio down 50%, San Diego 48, Nashville, Tennessee 44, and on and on and on. And
but those are all
people who are listening to this podcast worried about homicides. Like, I'm more worried about
you're
getting
worried about
mugged as I'm going out of your building here.
well, I see your watch.
I was going to say, like, keep your watch at home. I can't even walk down the street down, David. I
put it on my ankle.
We should go to dinner. I was like,
I put my
David,
watch on my ankle.
I'll walk out with you.
That's a very valid fear. Yeah, I think we just got used to it. I think, like,
because you're talking about homicides. You're not talking about stabbings and robbers.
You can't even shoot someone who breaks into your home.
No.
If they turn their back to you, you can't shoot them.
God, his home broken into.
I got broken into.
I had
And he was
down the street from each other.
I had a homeless guy walk in,
and he was there.
and so it was me. Our kids were going to bed
Face to face.
I was at the top of the staircase screaming
walked
at
right
him. Well, we didn't have the door locked, so.
I wish I had the luxury of a homeless guy come in. I had the 3 guys coordinated. They did some kind of CIA thing to our Wi-Fi. They turned off the alarm.
No way.
They
that's
came in. We were in the
everybody I
house.
know. Everybody I
They were in the
know.
house for 20 minutes while we're all there with all the kids.
How long ago?
You were there?
This was a year ago.
A year ago.
20
so how
minutes
did you
in the
get
house.
them out?
I didn't know they were in the house. They were roaming through the house for 20 minutes. We were watching TV.
Mossad. You show up, they shoot you. That's what happens.
You can't shoot them. They'll sue you.
How did you get them out?
Well, no, they couldn't find cash. They found a go-yard bag and they left. That was
And
it.
you were there the whole time.
The whole time. And then it came up, I saw there was glass shattered everywhere. And then I looked at the cameras. They somehow
So you didn't even know while they were there that
didn't
they were
know.
there.
That's how good
Oh
they
my
were. We saw it was like a 14-year-old kid. He went through the thing. It was very well done. I was actually quite impressed. I would hire the guys. And he would probably take international rates.
Who's doing the cybersecurity for the 14-year-old kid?
Well, after, I don't know what they did, but then the cops told us they had some kind of like radar jamming technology now, so they know how to turn off your alarms
Yeah, they
if
have
it's like
Wi-Fi
based
jammers.
on Wi-Fi. Yeah, they have a Wi-Fi jammer.
Dr. Phil was on Joe Rogan saying he's been broken into many times and he had cybersecurity teams that whoever was breaking into him was from like some Russian IP address that was hacking his security cameras.
And then they hired
the local
That
people.
makes sense. The only thing you can do right now is deterrence. We just build huge walls, lasers everywhere, like security, like you wouldn't believe.
So like Fort Knox.
You cannot even get close anymore. Like,
Did you up your security?
you don't even know. There's things I can't even tell you that we did. It's 24/7.
Yeah.
I think we just got
you
used
have
to
to.
it. Everybody
You have no
I
choice.
know that is like you, like young, does well, lives in a nice neighborhood. Every one of them has had.
This is why homicides are plummeting. You can't even walk into anyone's house.
There's a podcast right now with the thieves saying, I can't even break in anymore.
They're just like, oh man, we used to break it up. We can't even do it. The security is too good.
right. It's so crazy.
All right. Well, I know the last topic, which could be the funniest thing of all time. Shohei Ohtani So more
What podcast
details.
goes for an hour and a half. What's going on?
Yeah,
Well, we talked about kids for 45 minutes. We didn't even get to news.
Kabbalah, fucking.
Don't you guys have to get home to your kids?
I do.
They're asleep. My
They're
kids are asleep.
Oh my gosh.
So last topic: Shohei Ohtani, Dodger star.
Can I do the facts?
Go for it. He's a
dove
gambling
into-
addict.
This guy, Shohei
There's the
Ohtani,
facts.
the Michael Jordan of baseball. We thought it was like, his interpreter stole like $1 million or $2 million bucks.
Few million.
Few million was the
Ipe.
number. Ipe. Here are the numbers, drama, because I know D knows the numbers.
I
And I
don't know
want to
any of
see
that.
your first reaction.
Yeah.
This guy,
Ipe.
Ipe, quote unquote, Shohei Ohtani,
Right.
lost $183 million and won $140 million. So had a $40 million spread that he had to cover. And he paid $16 million from Ohtani's bank account. He is in Shohei. And he still owes $24 million. Who lets someone gamble $320 million?
Especially your interpreter.
This is the federal indictment. This is all public information. This
Who is
isn't
that
like
bookie?
rumor.
Here's my belief.
Where
It's
were the
the-
bets placed? Like, was it a Vegas thing?
It's a guy in San Diego, at least the majority. This
It was
guy's
a guy.
placed
It was a
19.
bookie.
Yeah, this guy's placed the Ohtani.
19,000.
Yeah, the Ohtani group has placed 19,000 bets.
The Ohtani group.
What the fuck?
TOG.
What
Tog.
the fuck? I saw on
And
our
they're going
news
to blame
thing.
it on this interpreter? Who's letting an interpreter with a $320 million line of credit?
And that guy's getting charged. His interpreter's
He's going
gonna
to
take
jail
the
for
fall.
30 years.
Oh.
He's getting 30.
I think he's gonna.
Shohei's just going to hit home runs and be the face of LA.
like. Does everyone just act like? Okay,
You
I
have
guess
to.
it
Act.
wasn't.
That's how it
Shohei.
works.
And
Here's the thing about if you're gonna commit crime, be the best at whatever you do.
Right.
If you're gonna
That's a
commit
fact.
mega crime,
yeah, Trump gets away with everything.
Be niche, like we said. Be niche.
be niche. Yeah,
I mean,
be,
rest in peace, OJ. You know, he was the.
Oh, we should finish on OJ too. We should finish on OJ after Ohtani.
Nothing you guys don't talk about.
okay, so
You're not going to close on abortion?
that's in November.
Climate
That's in
change.
November. All right, so you want to end on OJ? OJ Simpson died this week.
You just said you were going to end on the other one.
Okay, this is the last topic.
But this is an
R.I.P.
LA centric topic.
This is
because
very LA.
we grew up in LA. So
growing up in LA.
and we're of the age where we can remember this stuff.
Vividly remember in high school, the chase, the trial, everything. It was the biggest thing that ever happened to the city.
Have you seen the viewership numbers? They released them.
No.
Okay. For the chase, I want both of you guys to take a guess. How many viewers for the chase?
25.
95 million.
It's bigger than the Oscars.
That's Super Bowl.
That's sumo. For the acquittal, how many people?
50.
150 million.
Oh my god!
It's
Remember
the biggest-
Judge Ito? Remember Judge Ito?
I remember
Remember Jay
everyone.
Leno and the
Marsha
Dancing
Clark.
Itos?
Yes.
I mean, the
remember everybody.
Kardashian family's created from that.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Did
So-
you see the remake with Cuba Gooding?
Yeah, it was amazing.
That was
good.
unbelievable.
I watched all of it.
What
I
was
watched
it
all of
called?
it.
Was it
Was it
Made in
Netflix?
America or something?
Yeah.
Or OJ?
The O.J. Simpson story, I think it was called.
It was on a network, I think.
Was it
FX
Network?
or
I think,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
one
it
of
was
those.
unbelievable. John Travolta, Cuba
Yeah,
Gooding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I might rewatch
But so
it. just
to
for
those numbers,
nostalgia.
that's why we're bringing it up. It was the most important story in America because I doubt there was a global viewing. So 150 million Americans. Does someone in Asia give a shit about the OJ chase? Probably not.
The juice? No.
And what the best part, or not the best, I'm going to say this differently. The most fascinating part of that whole process is how different parts of the country reacted.
Within the own cities.
So in my junior high, I'll never forget this. So I was in 7th grade, I think. They brought in a TV. We watched the verdict.
Yeah, I remember that.
And everyone cheered in my junior high. It was like erupted in cheers. But if you go down the
In
street,
my elementary school, they were crying.
When they pulled it in, my classroom was quite diverse. The school, Granada Hills High School, was fairly diverse.
so you were probably in 10th grade if I was in
Yeah.
7th. Yeah.
And I vividly remember cheering, crying.
Mine was all cheers. I was in a rougher part.
And then it became a discussion. I was in AP English. I vividly remember. We're having a conversation. Some of the kids whose parents had dealt with child abuse or parental abuse, and then kids who were dealt with racial shit. It was fucking crazy to deal with that as a high school kid, just watching. And I was just like, oh, the dude from the movie Naked Gun.
Because we weren't old enough to watch him in sport, but we knew how famous he was.
He was the biggest thing. It was the juice. And then it was crazy. And
I mean, they interrupted the NBA finals to talk about the chase.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the top of the mountain when it comes to if you're going to commit crime, be the best.
I also
don't you remember when he was acquitted? Then he ended up actually committing another stupid crime.
He stole his own memorabilia,
and he went to jail for that.
Yeah, he went to jail for
But then
that.
he wrote a book called "If I Did It." I mean, that guy, he is wild.
Everyone was like,
apparently when he was like his last week, he knew he was dying. When his kids came to visit him in the hospital, they had to lock up their phones and sign NDAs.
oh, because
he might have
Maybe he confessed.
yeah.
Maybe he just didn't
But
want to
I mean, just if you think about those numbers, 150 million people watching acquittal and 95 watching a chase, there's never going to be something like
150 million people watching a USC running back.
But think about all the impressions on every documentary, that
you're
show we
talking
just
billions.
talked about. Yeah. Just a phenomenon.
It was interesting, especially from a racial dynamic standpoint. You saw it live during that era. Like,
what year was that?
It was 94. It was on the heels of Rodney King.
Rodney King. I was
Yeah.
gonna
So
say,
that's why
Rodney
the
King
city-
was what, 92?
92.
92. The
So it was
riots.
on the heels of-
on the heels of the riots. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why it was
That's
such a
why
big
I got
deal.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
like good timing for him to commit his crime.
And Johnny Cochran took advantage of it.
In terms of legal, Johnny Cochran's the GOAT.
Wow. If it doesn't fit, it
He
must
must have
quit.
quit.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
No, who doesn't know
brilliant.
that line? Isotoner gloves.
I mean, they had the DNA and they couldn't get him guilty.
no,
Unbelievable.
it's crazy.
I want to go and watch the show again. What
I
was
think I'm
it
going to
called?
do that.
I think it's called
Made in
O.J.
America
Simpson
or
story.
something. I think it's
Yeah,
called
something like-
Yeah.
it's
I
something
bet
like
you
that.
it goes right to the top of the charts now that he's passed
Yeah.
away.
For sure. Okay.
All right.
All right, we got to end this.
It's like your podcast.
Yeah, if people made it this far, comment that you made it this far. I want
They're
to see if people actually
100% they
heard
made
this.
it. Trust me. Everyone knows.
Oh man. All right. Well,
All right, David. Thank
Great
you.
Guys,
episode.
thanks for having me.
Dude, that was
you,
so
David.
It
fun.
was a blast. And I didn't even have your tequila.
All right,
all right,
guys.
guys. See you later.